On September 25th, 2017, if I had said Puerto Rico, this is probably how most of us would have pictured it. On September 26th, Hurricane Maria hit down and decimated the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. It's a funny thing about the human spirit. We tend to rise against adversity, and we tend to take care of each other. Did you know that Puerto Rico was one of the few countries to be officially bilingual, as Spanish and English are both spoken there? Of 60 states and territories under the US, it ranks 29th in population, 49th in square miles. As reported in 2015, it has a literacy rate of 93.8%, which, based on the last time the US reported this statistic, is better than 7% of all 50 states combined. The currency is the US dollar, and you don't need a passport to go there. Puerto Rico is also home to 5 Miss Universe winners, which ranks second only to the United States. It also houses the world's largest telescope, and I can confirm it isn't pointed at any of the Miss Universe's houses. It's a beautiful country, and it houses many, many brothers and sisters to the United States. And it will again get its beauty back. We will help it to be so. Hello, everybody. I was very honored to be tagged by the amazing JD Estrada and very humbled to be able to do the Hurricane Maria tag game, which I'm about to do for you all today. Now, I realize that I was tagged some time ago, and there was a timeliness to this tag. However, I think that it lends itself to be done right now, and it is a good time to do so, simply because of two things. First, obviously, this episode takes place in the month of when most of our countries around the world celebrate some sort of Thanksgiving. So it's apropos that we give thanks, and in doing so, I'm very, very thankful to be able to do this tag and to recognize an amazing, amazing man, a man that I hold in high esteem and think the world of, and a man I am very happily proud to call my friend. The other reason being is that it comes at a time when other news dominates the cycle, and the initial response and the overwhelming support that was once received is now going by the wayside and being shuffled to a back page or a middle page of the news, and still there's a lot to be done and there's a lot of awareness to be had. So I definitely think that anytime that we can remind ourselves of what we do for one another is a good thing, and thus doing it at this time may lend itself to reminding all of us that there's still a lot to be done, and one of those things that we can all do is make sure that this hashtag has a lifespan and continues its journey to wherever it needs to go. For that reason, I am skipping ahead, as there are 9 points on this sheet to hit. There's a 10th that was more of a favor, as JD said in his video, and if you haven't seen JD Estrada's original tag, I will post the link to the YouTube description box so that you can go check it out, and please do so. It's a very powerful video. It's very much why this man is amazing. He lays it all out there, and he just puts it out there for you, and it's a really an amazing video. One of my all-time favorites. He had asked on the 10th point was to tag someone, anyone, and everyone. So with that being said, I'm going to skip ahead 10 places and go to number 10 here, right now, and say to everybody who's watching this, who has a YouTube channel, who has done YouTube videos, or would like to participate in YouTube videos, who haven't yet, this is the perfect time to do so. I am tagging you. Consider yourselves tagged. You need to do this tag. Take the questions, they'll be in the YouTube description, and if you can't find them in the YouTube description here, you can go to the original tag game of JD Estrada's, and he has them listed there. And so there's no reason not to do this tag. They will be there. You will find them. Go out and do it, all right? So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take on the 9 remaining points of this game. My answer to this question is The Life of Pi. It's a book written by Yann Martel, but it is also a movie that was adapted from the original text by Ang Lee. It is about a young boy, Pasin Pai Patel, who lives in India with his family, and they run a zoo, and they end up getting an opportunity to move to the West to do a zoo. And he put all the animals and themselves on this giant charter boat, and the charter boat capsizes, and thus all that is left from this devastating event is Pi and Richard Parker. Now, I spoiled it a little bit with that because the book goes into great detail of Pi's life before the incident, but the incident is really where this story begins. And Richard Parker is not a human being. I won't spoil who Richard Parker is. I haven't heard of this book or seen the movie, but he's a very important key figure in helping Pi discover himself, and without him, Pi is beyond desolate. He is exposed to an amazing array of just complete and utter chaos and disaster, and you kind of get a sense of what I mean if you read the book. The movie does a very good job of portraying the moments with Richard Parker that the book is highlighted, but the book really goes into an immense amount of detail in terms of the psychological aspects of what's going on with Pi and the mindset and the things that he experiences, because there's so much more in the book and there's so much more vivid and rich. It's just the handbook on how to handle desolation, really. For this one, I chose The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. And again, without trying to go into spoiler alerts, the book is an amazing journey told by the narrator. You go on these fantastical, whimsical journeys, and you go on these amazing adventures, and then all of a sudden, within a gasp and a whim and just an amazing abruptness, you get hit with the ending. And the ending is very stark, very just right in your face, and it is as devastating and as amazing an ending as you could possibly imagine, and it does have to do with the narrator going home. And it's that old adage, you can never go home again, and believe me, it was never more true than in this story. It is absolutely the most stunning thing you will ever encounter in the end of a book. It was I was floored by it. I was like, wow. So for this one, I went with a movie called Terms of Endearment by James L. Brooks. He wrote and directed it. It stars Shirley MacLaine. Jack Nicholson won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Deborah Winger, who plays a pivotal role in the lost part of this movie. It has Jeff Daniels. It has Danny DeVito. It has an amazing, amazing cast and an amazing array of actors who just knock it out of the park. Jack Nicholson especially. This is by far the best thing that I've ever seen Jack Nicholson do. He's done a lot of great things. This movie is very, very amazing all the way through. Certainly it has moments where it's bumpy and there's a little bit of insider stuff between mother and daughter that I probably didn't grasp fully enough. But that being said, it's one of my all-time favorite films, and the ending to this movie deals with loss in a way that I've never seen any movie or book ever deal with it. And it's like the begin again idea. It is not so much that we are mourning death, but we are celebrating life. And that at a time of tragedy, in a time like this, people just know the right thing to say, know the right thing to do. They know the right thing and right people to talk to. And that all becomes so apparent at the end of this movie. And it just brings it all together and brings what was pettiness, cattiness, and jealousy and rage. All that comes full circle and goes away and dissipates in just a moment's time. And that's just amazing to me. It's fantastically done. It is probably my favorite ending of any movie ever. For this one, I went with We the Living by Ayn Rand. It is her novel, per se. That's how she describes it. It is, but ironically, it's probably the closest thing to her real life that she's ever written. It is the story of Kira, who is part of a well-to-do family in the middle of the Industrial Revolution in Russia and the beginning of the Communist Party taking power in Russia. And with that comes a complete shift in her dynamic and her world and changes the entire thing. And it's the most transformative story from one person's journey into the first act that I've read. But it's really the roots of the communism and the way that the human characteristics of people tend to leak out, no matter what their beliefs are, no matter how strong they believe in this process and how much they believe in the communist principle and the collective aspect of it. They can't help but be human beings. They can't help but feel. They can't help but be betrayed by their feelings. They can't help but be honored by their feelings. They can't help but feel proud and feel jealous and feel sad. And all those things are what the Communist Manifesto kind of tried to wipe away, tried to automatize its people and make them machines instead of people. And that's where the communists, you can see where the cracks in the Communist Manifesto are. And this book highlights them so perfectly, and it deals with such amazing, amazing people. There are people with incredible scruples in this book and those without. And it goes from one spectrum to the other spectrum. And so really the Indifference is the manifesto, which I know is not a people, it's a political ideal, and it has philosophical ideals. But it's so strong and so apparent that it really takes the people to rise up. And in this book, obviously it takes place at the beginning of this whole thing, so you may not see that upheaval, but you see where the cracks lie, and that's what I think is really prominent in this adventure. I put Into the Wild by Chris McCandless. Now, this is a autobiography of sorts, but it is actually a lot has been proven to be fictionalized in it, believe it or not. And the book is written by Chris McCandless, who goes through these experiences, and Sean Penn wrote and directed the movie version, and he brought aboard Emile Hirsch to play Chris McCandless, and Emile does an admirable job. The one scene that I really think really captures what the interpretation of the book is the scene between Emile Hirsch and Hal Holbrook. That scene is as close to dotting the I's and crossing the T's as any book has ever been interpreted into a film. That moment is done perfectly. The rest of the movie lacks the spirit and the energy and the idea that Chris had. And he goes so off the deep end and so from high to low and low to high, and he does that on almost a page-by-page basis, and it's really fascinating and interesting, and it is the most whacked out I've ever seen a character, and the most in touch with themselves that I've ever seen a character. It's the most interesting duality I've ever read. Ironically, I think that most people probably thought this was the easiest of all the questions, and I thought it was the hardest, and thus I kind of cop out. And I'll tell you, the moments I've chosen are from Aliens, and while it is about the Cavalry rising up and making sure that good prevails, it's self-sacrificing, it is self-abasing, there are just moments of pure amazement, and then of course the whole reveal of the origin, of which we had very little to go on up until pretty much Act 3 of the second film, really capitalizes what is amazing about this Cavalry and why you want them to prevail. I mean, it is the rescue mission of Newt is probably one of the most interesting ideas within a film that should have ended, that didn't end when it should have ended, but carried on to the more proper ending. And if you've never seen the movie, go see it and you'll see what I mean. I hope that those who've seen the movie agree with me on that. But that is my pick for Cavalry. He does it twice. So there's no doubt it's Han Solo. There's no doubt. Han Solo is the answer to this question. The moment that he comes back and decides, you know what, I'm going to take the money and run, and comes back and saves Luke, takes out Darth Vader, saves Luke, lets Luke do his thing and become the giant hero that he needs to be. And I don't care, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it by now, you're never going to see it, because let's face it, if you don't know it, bad on you. And I don't care. And then he comes back and he sacrifices, he gets put into this position where he has to sacrifice himself to test out this machine that's really meant for Luke Skywalker, and then they rescue him, and he comes back in a big way. He also does it in The Force Awakens. So Han Solo is the quintessential comeback king. He's the guy that comes out of nowhere and surprises you, and that's awesome to me that he's it. That's the answer. All right, so I could have gone with Terms of Endearment for this one as well, but instead I chose another movie called The Family Stone, and I won't give that one away because I know a lot of people probably haven't seen it. So go check it out. But the ending of this movie is so perfectly done. It has a lot of second act problems, this movie does. It gets a lot in its own way. It's very jumbled. And to get to the third act, you would never think that it would tie all that so neatly together, and it does. It does such a great job of doing that. And the third act, and invariably the last two scenes of the entire movie, which are amazing. And for that alone, this is a good movie because of those scenes. But the movie's decent. The acting's great. There's a lot of great actors. There's Dermot Mulroney. There's Sarah Jessica Parker, Craig T. Nelson. Claire Danes. There's Diane Keaton. There's Rachel McAdams. It's really a stellar cast. Luke Wilson. It's really a stellar cast with an incredible ending. And the ending really ties it all together, like I said, and it made me a blubbering idiot. I didn't expect it, so. If you build it, they will come. Let's build the dreams, baby. This rebuild process that Ray Kinsella goes through is a life journey, and it is a journey to answer questions about life, and it does it for so many characters, and it brings together so much and does an amazing, whimsical, and fantastical job of just capturing what is so beautiful about the game of baseball, but beyond that, the game of life. And Field of Dreams rebuilds everything. It rebuilds the 3-act structure, it rebuilds, I mean, seriously, this movie does a lot for its outside interests as much as it does for the inner interests. It rebuilt the third act as a viable way to arc a story. It rebuilt Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones and brought them to a point where they could do a movie where they didn't have to be this certain guy of this certain type or have this certain way about them. This was a much, much more subdued Kevin Costner. It was a much better and stronger James Earl Jones than we had seen in some time. Timothy Busfield gets to do what he does so well. I mean, this is just an amazing, amazing cast with an amazing, amazing movie. And it does so much, and it rebuilds so much, and it's the answer to my question there. It's the answer to number 9 for me. All right, everybody, again, thank you so much, JD Estrada. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all of you who spent the time to sit through this. We'll see you soon.